A good Sunday afternoon, everybody. Welcome to special Hurricane HQ coverage here on Fox Weather. I'm Ian Oliver, and breaking right now on Fox Weather, Tropical Storm Imelda has developed over the Bahamas. That just happened with the 2 p.m. update from the National Hurricane Center. Took a little bit longer than expected, to be honest. That had some significant implications in the overall forecast, at least some part. The big story today, the shift in the forecast track, a turn to the right that had been suggested by some of the new AI models for days. The storm's path is now away from the southeast coastline, and although thankfully we aren't expecting a direct landfall, some significant impacts are still likely. We're talking about flooding rain, gusty winds, some coastal impacts from Florida all the way up to the Carolinas. The NHC warns that rain totals could reach up to about 7 inches across the coastal Carolinas by Wednesday morning. Tropical storm alerts, those are in effect for parts of Florida's east coast, and both North and South Carolina are under a state of emergency. We've got full team coverage on the ground working through this afternoon and this evening. Our crews, you see them behind me, we'll keep you informed and prepared as we continue to track this system out, which has been a bit of a head scratcher. We had talked about how there were more or less 3 camps, 2 real departures in the forecast, a fork in the road getting to about tomorrow, and now it appears as though we're taking that road off to the right. So for more on what's going on here, let's bring in Fox Weather hurricane specialist Bryan Norcross. Bryan, Tropical Storm Imelda was a bit of a long wait for this, and it does appear as though the much better case scenario, you and I had talked about it all week, some of those indications from the AI model, the turn off to the right.
Yeah, this was obviously a very disorganized system. It's still not terribly organized, and there's dry air that's being pushed into it by kind of a dip in the jet stream. And so that caused the development process to be a little slow. It doesn't have a big push behind it to move quickly, and those things came together to make it a little bit different than forecast. But you know, the development time of a tropical storm is always difficult or impossible to forecast. So not completely surprising, and what is developing was one of the scenarios that we've been talking about for a while. So here we are with the system located right near the southern part of Andros Island in the Bahamas. You see 40-mile-per-hour winds. They dropped a dropson. The Hurricane Hunters, the Air Force Reserve Hurricane Hunters, dropped a dropson, which is an instrument package in the plane, went right down to the eye and measured the tropical storm force winds at the surface of the ocean. So we have direct confirmation of that. 998 millibars on the pressure. So the pressure is very low for a 40-mile-an-hour storm. Here we see it close up on the satellite, and you can clearly make out where the center of circulation is. It's right there. But the other thing you can see here is look at this line right through here. And all this out here is very dry air. That's because the upper level flow here is like this, and it's pushing dry air from the north down toward the storm, and that's one of the things that has slowed it down. So the key takeaway of that is that the moisture from the storm is going to spread north of the storm center. So tracking the center is not the thing here, because the bad weather is going to be well to the north. Here's the radar. Now remember, the radars are coming out of the U.S., so coming out of Miami and coming out of Melbourne, so we're not seeing this part of the storm out here on the radar, but no doubt there's rain out there. And in the Bahamas, they are going to have several inches of rain on those islands, and some spots could get a foot. So there is a flooding potential, and low-lying areas in the Bahamas are going to be dangerous. So obviously the Bahamians are very experienced at this. They've got everybody alerted. But look at these bands. They're pushing in now on the southeast coast, pushing in a little farther north. These are outer bands of the storm. There's one here, going to be another one down here, and they're going to impact the southeast coast. Now, it's not a very strong tropical storm, obviously, so the bands out here should not produce sustained tropical storm force winds, but gusts over 40 miles an hour wouldn't be surprising. Boating is obviously very dangerous right now, and at the beach, rip currents from the storm and just energy in the ocean will be a thing here for the next couple of days. Now, watch as we go north with the radar, and here you can see, look at these clouds up here in the direction they're moving, and then look at these clouds down here in the direction they're moving. There's a front in here, and so eventually, when there's more of a kind of a push from the south that gets up into the Carolinas, this is going to push that moisture over top of that front. The front's going to enhance the rain, so there is the potential for several inches of rain in spots there. It's heading up to maybe 7 inches, which can cause flash flooding. We've had plenty of rain already, so ground is kind of saturated in the Carolinas. Along the coast, because the system is forecast to intensify up here from just north of the Palm Beaches up to just north of Daytona Beach, tropical storm watch continues in effect, means possible tropical storm sustained winds at the coast. The emphasis there on the possible, but the bottom line is just bad weather, expected gusty winds, and certainly dangerous conditions at the beach. Once you get north of the Bahamas, the dangerous conditions come not just from Imelda, but also, you can see right on the edge of the screen here, also from Umberto and the energy that it's putting in the ocean. In fact, that'll be on the whole east coast of the U.S. from the Category 4 hurricane. We'll look at that in just 1 second. All right, let's look at the new cone. Well, this is the 11 o'clock cone with the update that now we have a tropical storm here. Forecast to intensify through the day today, so that by tomorrow morning, it's a 60-mile-an-hour storm in the northwestern Bahamas, and then becoming a hurricane Monday night, Tuesday morning, offshore of Cape Canaveral, more or less, and you can get the hint there in the cone of the good news that the turn east is forecast to start about on Tuesday now. So the thing is that if we get a hurricane in this area, and let's say it's over here, then those fringe effects on the coast could produce tropical storm force winds over 40 miles per hour there. But then the storm shoots out to sea, and then we'll watch for Bermuda. That'll be on Thursday, but it'll be moving by very quickly. And exactly what condition it's going to be in, there's a front out there. Will it combine with a front and so forth? That might weaken it a little faster than the official Hurricane Center forecast. But in any case, speeding on out to sea away from the U.S. All right, let's take a look at Umberto with 150-mile-an-hour winds. There's the pressure there. Looks very impressive. As a matter of fact, looking at this over the length of that loop, I think you can see that the eye looks like it's compressing some. I think it went through an eye wall replacement cycle where it builds a new, bigger eye wall, and that shrinks. We'll see what the analysis is at 5 p.m. this afternoon on whether they think it has re-strengthened some when the eye shrinks, like the figure skater bringing the arms in, spins faster. So we'll see. There you see the cone as it moves north and then loops around Bermuda. The storm is going to grow in size, so edge effects possible in Bermuda. This would be Tuesday into Wednesday. And then along comes Imelda on Thursday. So not the most common series of events, but Bermuda is well situated to deal with these storms. Doesn't look like they're going to get a real hard hit from anything. Okay, here we have the two systems here, and we can watch how they're going to interact, which is important. You can see the distance between them here. Kind of keep that in your mind because that's going to shrink as we go forward. And when they get closer, then they can start interacting with each other. Here you see the moisture generally on the east and the north side, generally drier air all down in here, as we saw on the satellite. And here you see the moisture already streaming north just up to the coast. It's still dry over the land. That's where we are today, watching up here for the time. Okay, here we go forward. This is a day. Notice it's not moving very fast, and that slow movement is letting Umberto kind of gain latitude on it. So already by tomorrow, Umberto's a little north of it, and Umberto is moving closer to it. So influence begins tomorrow as the circulation around the big hurricane goes like this, kind of holds it back a little bit, and also kind of cancels out the high pressure that's helping to drive things north. Okay, and here we go a little farther. You see it still slowly moves north, and now what's happening is that the pressure from Umberto is just holding it back and slowing it down, but the moisture is still spreading into the southeast. So it begins tomorrow into Tuesday that we get this moisture in the southeast, and then moving on out. There you see moving to the north of Bermuda, and we'll see this one. All right, what are the factors that are affecting all this now? So you have your hurricane here, and you have the tropical storm, and what we see to the north is a dip in the jet stream. So initially, it's this dip in the jet stream. You can see, you can make out in the colors there, it has kind of captured this, and this is what's bringing the dry air down to the south. And high pressure is driving Umberto this way. So they're kind of working independently right now. Watch as we go forward in time, and what happens is the high pressure kind of cancels out any effect, and all we're dealing with is this fairly weak system here pulling this north, okay? And then we go to Tuesday, and now look what's happened. This is not driving it so much. This up here is starting to drive things, and that is this big, strong jet stream up to the north. And you can see as we move forward that that's what drags everything away, and this low that was over here just goes away. So it's kind of a transfer of what the steering is. All right, so there are the models, and look at them all indicating out to sea. And as Ian said, the Google DeepMind AI model kind of was leading the way on this, although the European AI model also kind of had the idea earlier. Now, pretty much all models in agreement, except for right up here. We have a couple still showing landfall, but we always have strays in these kind of situations, Ian. Low odds for any kind of very, very, very low odds. So we actually are discounting the possibility of a landfall at this point.
Yeah, Bryan, chalk one up for the AI models this go around. But as you just showed us, there are still some fine scale details, an intricate dance that decides where exactly this will track and how much we see on the periphery with some of these impacts, which could be considerable. So we've got some things to figure out in the short term. He'll be tracking it for us. That's Fox Weather Hurricane Specialist Bryan Norcross. Thank you.